Welcome, Cancer, to your Gemini New Moon 1 month forecast for the ascendant, the Sun, or the Moon across the 14th or 15th of June, depending on location. The new moon at 24 degrees and 2 minutes in Gemini. Now, we can talk about Gemini new moons in an overall sense, but each lunation is completely unique. On the screen is this one, but from a Cancer viewpoint. I'm going to unpack this event chart for you, and by the end of the video, you'll have a clearer picture of what's upcoming over the next 4 weeks in terms of your energy, work, relationships, or finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. So Gemini is the third zodiac sign. It's a mutable sign, so it flexes. It has great agility. It can be about quick thinking and quick communication. Its ruler is Mercury, the fleet-footed messenger. And on the screen, we can see that this year we have a new addition to the sign. It is, of course, Uranus. And Uranus is going to be very influential on this event, even though it's not very close to the Sun or the Moon. Why is that? Well, Uranus recently moved into Gemini, and it could be evoking some deep energies within you, maybe to do with memories. It may be to do with old people you used to know. It may be making you more aware of new and fresh approaches to perhaps your need for personal space, or perhaps even towards healing. However, what we do have on this event is the collective in Gemini for you personally is in house 12. Now, the 12th house can be very much to do with reflection. It can be to do with meditation. It can be to do with gently retreating and giving ourselves a little bit of emotional downtime. But because Gemini is very much a mental energy, it's possible that your thinking, which is very much about what Gemini is about, the mind, is about something that could be coming to a close. But equally, it could be something that's being birthed that's very much to do with a new passion that's really bubbling up deep within you, that maybe is coming from a soul level. And why Uranus is so important is it is interacting with the nodal axis. Now, that T-scale was precise on the 12th of June, but it's going to be going on right through to the end of July, the 26th, when the North Node moves into Aquarius, the South to Leo. And why is it important? Well, the North Node since January 2025 has been pushing you to expand your thinking, your knowledge, but particularly around that soul purpose. But because Gemini is much more of a cerebral energy and therefore can be a bit cool and detached, what we can have is that Uranus, which can be provocative, but also pushes us to get in touch with our higher purpose in a very psychological part of your chart, could be arousing some things that you're a bit unsettled about. It might be to do with travel plans. It could be to do with feeling maybe a bit unsure of the path you have been on, because on the other side of the heavens, Uranus is also evoking, or is the out point of the energy from the South Node, which could be some ideas and beliefs that you've held for a very long time that have felt comfortable and maybe to do with where you live. But this energy of Uranus is quite, even though it is the planet which is very much to do with astrology and therefore prediction, it can be rather unpredictable. And that 12th house could be affecting, for example, your nervous system. And because the third house, very much that Virgo energy, can be a need to keep things neat, tidy, well ordered. The third house can be those daily routines. The ninth house can be the need for freedom. And of course, Uranus is the planet of freedom. So maybe your thinking can bring up over the next 4 weeks something that you feel oppressed by, but it may require you to let go of something in order to create what you really do yearn for. Now, there are two players that are very constructive on this event. and that is Jupiter and Mars. Jupiter in your zodiac sign coming to the end of its journey on the 30th of the month. That's linking back to the conjunction of the Sun and the Moon in a semi-sextile, and Mars is linking to them too, and Jupiter and Mars are also together well. So it's possible that you're actually thinking about moving forwards with something that does excite you. And it may be that it's part of a group situation where there's a collective, or you can at least be very individual in some form of collaboration or cooperation. But it needs to really, ironically, with this air energy, it really needs to feel psychologically right. So if there's anything at the moment that you're having to deal with around travel, communications, anything that you feel locked into, maybe a contract, and it really isn't working for you, there can be this great sense of restlessness, but also perhaps not really enjoying the moment, and it may be creating some stress. And that's why the Jupiter Mars sextile and their semi sextile back to this is saying that, look, as one celestial door shuts, another one can open. I think it can be to do with your work, because Saturn continuing its journey for the next near to 2 years in your sector of responsibilities can see you, climb the ladder of success, can achieve greater acclaim. But because on this event is in a square with the ruler of the sign of Gemini, Mercury, and that's really pushing you to express your individual creativity. And Saturn means you could be connecting with people who expect a lot from you. And maybe these are people a bit more stuffy, rigid, people like line managers, perhaps in a big corporate environment. If you're more of a natural bohemian, I think this is a new moon, which is going to push you to think, which is obviously the mind is very Gemini, but to master the balance between your mind and your soul. But you have got exit routes here. That's the critical thing, Cancer. Don't think there's no way out. And strangely, there may be something that you've been working on for some time, perhaps even behind the scenes, that could be about to give you a return financially. Uranus in the sextile with Venus, now in the very proud Leo, but for you, the second house. So don't believe that just because things are out of sight or deep within you, that percolation can bring something into the open, particularly when we get to the Cancer solstice on the 21st, ushering in Cardinal Quadrant 2, the next quarter period of the overall Western tropical astrological year. And that's really when you're going to really go for it in a much more dynamic way. So there may be a sense that something is winding up in your situation. And if you're not enjoying that professional role, for example, look at Jupiter, which can be about freedom and very much about independence through its rulership of Sagittarius in a square with Chiron. So if you've really been trying to master something or comply to something in order to achieve a particular prize, which you may have achieved, I feel that this event is asking some serious questions about whether are you really enjoying it or not. And if you're not, just know there are exit routes, there are options. Because with Neptune right at the top of your chart, I think what's really important for you, that's not going to stray Neptune this year very far from your 10th house overall whole sign cusp. And that suggests that doing things that are creative, imaginative, to do with the psychic realm, maybe to do with healing, maybe to do with care or health work, any of those arenas, I really feel you can burgeon. And look at Neptune in that link with Venus. There is an option at the moment through releasing something and allowing the space for something new and fresh to come in, that you could actually get the type of role that really fits what you're searching for. And it just will take some courage potentially to release. So in an overall context, 12th house new moons are probably the most challenging of all the new moons, because we think of new moons as very much setting our intentions. So if you want to set your intentions on this one, it's very much about rest, reflection, recuperation, healing, quiet time, being in nature. But because of the intellectual energies of Gemini, you may need to feed your mind as well. And that could be through information, but information that really inspires you, not information that's necessarily just about hard facts. So that's the overall picture. I'm going to summarize those four areas of energy, work, relationships, and finances next, Cancer. But just to say, I've slashed the price of my personal horoscope reports. For many years, I've sold them. If you buy two, you get 30% off. Because of the cost of living increases, I've reduced the price now. It's pay for one and get three. So three for the price of one. The one you pay for is your life roadmap report. The most important document any of us can read, much more important than a forecast. We need to understand who we are, and that helps us to get a more intimate understanding of the patterns that are played out, so we can work with those energies better future forwards. The forecast, with that knowledge of that analysis, then helps you to plan your moves over the next 12 months. It's totally unique to each person, produced for. And then the draconic soul karmic analysis. There's a different way of looking at astrology. We moved the North Node to the vernal point. Unless you got the North Node natally late in Pisces or early in Aries, your draconic chart can look very different. And it's about thinking about a more karmic connection, what we bring to this earth, the natal chart, much more what we can manifest in this lifetime. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your Jupiter No More Blocks deep dive video, which has had loads of views, please take advantage of that, or your Chiron 50-year return video, that's on the screen too. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, it'd be an absolute pleasure. Please see my testimonials below. And if you've yet to sign up for my 3 daily written horoscope fired to your device each morning for your early day celestial pit stop, please see that below too. So to summarize, energy. I think there could be quite a lot of nervous energy, particularly if you have really been working hard, but because of Uranus newly arriving in the sign of Gemini, that can be quite a provocative influence. So there may be things that you've dealt with in the past, but they could come up in a slightly different guise. If you feel penned in any situation or trapped, that can help or see you feeling almost having too much nervous energy but being exhausted at the same time, if you get my drift. So I think your energy can be a little bit on the weary side, so really important to give yourself permission to just to take some breaks and take some breaths. In terms of your professional situation, because you do have Saturn and Neptune at the top of your chart, if you're very driven, and this particular new moon is just a period you're going to get through, but you're very driven and quite comfortable in some kind of business setting, your industry will eventually be rewarded if it isn't already. But that square with Mercury suggests there could be a little bit of a political battle of wills that does show up. But if you're doing something that's much more arty, creative, that's helping you to express your flair and individuality, I think you really can shine. There's little doubt about that. As far as your financial situation is concerned, Pluto, the planet of evolution, is in your 8th house of shared and long-term finances. And that is in a very strong link indeed with Uranus. So there may be past endeavor and effort that could be rewarded, but perhaps in unexpected ways. But because Venus, the planet of money, has moved into your personal second house and is in that link with Neptune, I think that if you're doing that stuff that lets you express your soul, that can give you funds. If there is something from your past that enables you to use your psychological awareness and instincts and analysis, that could be very good financially too. And of course, you do have Jupiter, the planet of fortune, linking to Mars. So if there is something you're working with, another person with, collectively, but it feels good, that has prospects as well. What about romantically? Well, if you're enjoying a relationship, I think Venus moving into the second house could see you enjoy some lovely meals. And obviously, Mars being in the 11th house, linking to Jupiter is a very energetic link. Is there someone in your social circle that you're drawn to if you're single? You may have not at this moment articulated your interest in them because of the 12th house can be a bit private, maybe even all the way to secret. Tiff, is there someone that you're developing a clandestine connection with? It's possible with that collective in that 12th house. But I think if you're not enjoying a relationship, you don't feel that someone really understands the more that part of you that's more to do with instinct, atmospheres. You don't necessarily have to have a conversation to really hoover up what everyone's thinking. If you're with someone who's just not anywhere near on your celestial page, I think this could be a new moon which makes you think carefully about endings. But it just depends on your unique circumstances. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Cancer. Wishing you all the best for the next month and look forward to seeing you again soon.